I'm going to show you how I earn $42,000 an hour trading money for money rather than money for time. Now, before we dive in, a little caveat, this particular strategy does take some money to make the money, but I'll dive into it in detail, and hopefully it gives you a path or inspiration or excitement for the future, or a path right now if you've got the capital to turn into a 6 or 7 figure income if you wanted to. All right, I'm going to start off, guys, with the disclaimer. This is not financial advice. Don't take it as financial advice. I'm not a financial planner. I'm not a tax CPA. This is just me walking you through what I do. And so if it's useful for you, amazing. If it's not useful for you, amazing as well. But this is what I do to earn $42,000 an hour, being able to take money that I have earned elsewhere in my main job or my main businesses and deploy it in very, very little time with very little risk to be able to make a great income, a multiple 6-figure income in very, very little time. And what this really is, actually, before I show you what it is, I want to walk through a mindset shift, and then I'll show you what we're talking about here. Okay. So the mindset shift that I walked through years ago is when we start earning income, the very first way that we start earning income usually is we trade time for money, right? We go get a job, or whatever it is. It could be at an office, it could be out in a field, but we show up to a place, or we show up and clock into a job. We do work, and then we get paid for that work, whether it's salary or hourly. We go through and trade time for money, and that works really, really well at the start. But then what happens is our freedom is limited when we're trading time for money, because the main commodity there that is scarce is your time. And we only have so many hours in the day to be able to trade. So the next thing, once we start to earn a little bit of money, is we then want to take some of that money and we want to then use money to trade it for time. So we just flip-flop it. We say, rather than me trading my time for your money, I have a little bit of extra money now. I'm going to use my money to trade it for time. So that could be hiring a house cleaner. It could be hiring that yard guy or gal. It could be delegating something in your business. It could be hiring a cook or a chef, or any one of the services that you can go out there and purchase to save yourself some time. Okay, so that's the second part of thinking about earning an income. I'm going to trade my money for my time, buying back that time, as my coach Dan Martell will say. The third way now is trading money for money. When we can start trading money for money, that's when we get real leverage. I always love watching Shark Tank. And Shark Tank, when I first started watching it, Mr. Wonderful, he would always say this quote. It would be something like, hey, I'm going to take the soldiers, that the money is his soldiers. We're going to send the soldiers out for them to bring back some more. And when you think about it that way, that you have an asset, that asset is just a tool. It's not something to be hoarded away. It's not something to be socked away. It's not something that should be in the bank account earning, 0.5% in there. It's a tool. And if we use that tool right, and if we shift our mindset that there are opportunities that we can literally send those little soldiers out and have them bring back more, then we start to really open up the possibilities on how we can earn. And this doesn't matter if you have $10,000 in the bank or $10 million in the bank. This strategy I'm going to teach you will work at some level, some way, shape, or form, and can grow as the capital that you have to use for this grows. Okay. So the second thing is, what most people do when they have some money, once again, whether it's $10,000 in the bank or 10 million, is they put it into a bank account. Now, this money that I'm talking about that you're going to use for this strategy I'm going to introduce here in a second should not be your reserves. Okay. I really, really heavily advocate that you should always, on the personal side, have 6 to 12 months reserve. So what are your personal expenses to live? Your rent, mortgage, insurance, car, gas, food, all those types of things. Times that by 6 or 12. I would start with 6. And if you don't have that right now, work up to that. Don't even think about doing the strategy I'm going to be teaching until you have reserves, okay, stocked up. So focus on reserves first. And then once you have extra, then you're going to go, now how do I take this and invest it wisely? Now, a lot of people will put it in the stock market, put it into a CD or a money market. And right now, I looked right before this video, the best earning money markets or high interest savings accounts are earning about 4 to 4.4%, which is pretty darn good versus historicals. But still, it's not that great, because when we look at inflation and you look at the pace by which the government has been printing capital, inflation being 6-7% plus another 7% of the rate of capital growth, we're talking somewhere between 7 to 14, 15% a year. Our money is being depreciated. And so if we have money sitting in a bank account at 3-4%, we're losing 10% a year in actual spending power. So that's kind of our job, is outside of reserves that are there. And I'm okay if the reserves lose some spending power because they're there for an emergency. I need to make sure that the money that I have elsewhere is outpacing the rate of capital growth, the rate of monetary growth, actually how many dollar bills and money is in the economy, and then the rate of inflation. And there's not a lot of ways to do that. Even on the stock market, if something's earning 7-8%, which is pretty good, you're still behind those rates, and your money is actually having less and less spending power. Now, last caveat before I dive into the strategy and introduce it to you, because you're probably wondering, like, Trevor, what are you doing? I'll walk you through it in detail. The last caveat is I'm not saying that this should be your only way of investing. And if you don't, there is some risk doing this. So I'm going to show you the ways that I mitigate risk. Knock on wood, I have never lost money doing this. Knock on wood twice, just to make sure. But you do have to learn some things. You have to build some skills. You have to be able to learn the craft of doing what I'm doing. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and dive in. So what is it that I'm doing to earn $42,000 an hour when I'm doing this activity? Well, I am becoming the bank. So the ways that banks make money, or one of the ways, is it takes your deposits, it pays you a year 1.25% interest in that savings account, and then it goes and finds people to loan that money out to at a higher interest rate. And there's certain pockets or certain types of loans that earn higher interest rates versus lower interest rates. And when you're working with real estate investors who are flipping houses, or you're working with businesses, oftentimes they need a bridge loan or some sort of a loan that's a short period of time. It's going to be a high interest rate, a little bit more risk, but if you do it right, it can be low risk. And then you can earn your 10, 12, 14, 15, 18% per year returns. Plus, I'm going to show you a way to get even more returns with the particular way that I'm doing it. So I'm becoming the bank. And so let's go ahead and dive into the iPad. We're going to kind of walk through this. But essentially, guys, this is private lending. Okay, so kind of removing the veil, what is it that I'm doing? I started doing private lending probably about 15 years ago at a really small scale. And I used a website called prosper.com. Okay, prosper.com, it still exists today. And that's before I had a larger chunk of capital to deploy using the methods I'm going to show you today. I could deploy and buy a $50 portion of a $10,000 loan through prosper.com. And that's how I started to learn the game, with just $50 at a time, $100 at a time, $1,000 at a time, $5,000 at a time. And I started to outpace the normal returns that bank accounts were returning by a lot. At that time, bank accounts were sub 1% interest rate, and I was pulling 7, 8, 9% interest returns after everything was paid back by the borrowers through prosper.com. Now, Prosper is great from the perspective of you can have small chunks of a bunch of loans and you can limit your risk, but it's not great from the perspective of you don't have the control, and also you're not going to earn as much income as the way I'm going to show you today. Okay, so there's two ways of bridging the gap and making private lending a great loan or a great investment. Okay, so for the $42,000 an hour, it takes two things. It takes a very, very low time commitment to make this business or this opportunity work. And then the second thing is it requires you to earn a really, really good return. And so the first thing is I want to reduce my risk. I don't care if the returns are 40% a year. I want to make sure I'm not losing my principal. That's my number one rule, is I don't lose my principal. And so there's a lot of ways to reduce risk, and I'm going to walk you through a couple ways to reduce risk. The first one is I've got to pick the right borrower. Okay, it's the borrower. And at least for me, I am in a little bit of a position of privilege here, but I worked hard to get here. And that position of privilege is I know a lot of real estate flippers and in-house wholesalers, because that's the business I'm in with my primary software company, carrot.com. We work with a lot of wholesalers and flippers. But you can find those people as well. You can go to Google and type up "sell my house fast," insert your city. All of those websites at the top, which are likely a lot of Carrot websites, are people who are flipping houses or wholesaling houses. call them up, talk with them, start to get to know people locally who are active flippers and wholesalers. Follow some of them for a while. Don't invest right away. Follow their social media, see them posting deals, doing transactions, get to know them before you ever think about giving them any money. But I want to know the borrower. I want to see that they're doing deals consistently. They've done a lot of them. They've never not paid a lender back. They've never not made money on it. And then I'm going to do a test loan. Okay. The next thing is I'm going to do a test loan. So on my test loans, I'm always going to be smaller. And sometimes the borrowers aren't going to accept the $10,000 loan, but you could say, hey, you've got a deal coming up. I want to do a $20,000 test loan. I know the amount you need is $150,000, but would you be willing to take my 25 and enable me to participate in this deal? If that's kind of my way of getting comfortable with you, let's cycle through this and let's look at another deal later. But my test loans are usually going to be somewhere around the 50K to 100K mark now. Okay. When I was just getting going is a little bit smaller. The reason for that is for house flippers, it can be harder to put $10,000 into that. You're going to have to be 50K or 100K or more to make it worth their while to do that with you. Okay. The next thing after we find the right borrower and they're reputable and they're doing the work and you follow them for a while on social and you get to know them and you do a test loan is we want to make sure that it's secure. Okay, so what does secure mean? Secure means that you have a what I call a first lien position or first mortgage position on that property. So when I take out a loan on my personal residence, my house from US Bank or whatever it's going to be, they then file a lien on the property or they're in first position. So if I stop making the payments, the bank actually gets to foreclose on the property and take the property back, and then they get to sell it. And they get their money back usually, right? And so that's what we're doing here is you want to make sure it's secure. And there's a lot of people that will do loans that are not secure. They're a part of a pool. I personally won't do any loans that are part of a pool. I always want mine to be in first position because that protects me more. Okay. Another thing that I'm going to ask for oftentimes, not all will provide this, but I think it just really depends on how well you know that borrower is. I'm going to ask for a personal guarantee. I would ask them to personally guarantee outside of their business, them personally, that they will pay this loan back. So even if the business fails or that deal fails, there's another layer of protection where they personally are liable to pay you that loan back over time. Okay, you want to make sure that is secured as a first position. You don't want to be second position, meaning that there's another lender in front of you. They're going to get their money back first. And if there's any left over, then you're going to get some. You never want to be in second position on these. Okay, another way I reduce risk is I do short-term loans. My loan period is ideally 3 to 4 months. Now, that fits well with a house flipper. Okay, so I find the ones who are doing deals quickly and that are getting in and out in 3 to 4 months that have low risk. So that's my term. That's my period because I want to turn that money 3 to 4 times a year. That's where the real returns come from. If I do a 12-month loan, and I'm going to walk you through what the solid returns part looks like here in a second, but if I do a 12-month loan, I don't have a chance for my money to earn as much. I'm going to walk you through why here in a second. Okay, the last couple parts is I always want to have the money be wired to an attorney or the title company. So work with a professional. In the early days, I did send wires directly to the investors I was working with. I trust them, but that's just not the right way to do it. Find out if they're in an attorney state or a title company state, and then wire the money directly to the person handling the actual closing. And then that investor or that lender will then the borrower will then get their money from title. So that adds a layer of protection for you. Okay. Last part here, guys, I'm going to put it out of here, is that the property is at a discount. Okay. So in this way of doing private lending, I want to make sure that I'm not loaning on a property that they're buying it for retail or they're buying it for close to retail. Because if they, for some reason, have a hard time renovating the property for their budget, they get way over budget, or they can't sell the property and I have to foreclose on it for some reason if they can't pay me back, I don't want to get an asset back that I can't get my money back for. And so we're usually going to aim for the investor buying that property, 70%, 60% of value or less. And that usually is some sort of a distressed property. It's a property that might need repair, or a seller just needs to sell quickly. That gives the investor or the borrower room to be able to do the renovation, have some time to get it on the market, pay a real estate agent to sell it, and then it leaves profit for them and it leaves ample profit for me, but it also leaves margin that if they don't pay me, I can take over the property and it's at a discount and I can get my money back safely and securely. So this right here has been a recipe that's really helped me to have insanely safe and secure investments. And like I said, knock on wood, I've lent millions and millions of dollars, done lots of transactions, and have never lost a dime doing it this way. Okay. So the second thing is we've got to have solid returns. So for me, a solid return is not 8, 9, 10%. I want to be outpacing the inflation and outpacing the growth of the monetary policy. So we need to be pumping 10 to 15% returns minimum to even do that. So what I found in the market as it is today, that 15% is really, really fair for that flipper. They can fit it into their profit margin. They can fit it into their calculation. It's fair for them. They're able to get the money quickly. They're able to do their work, and then they're able to just calculate that in their buy percentage. And that's going to be annual rate of return. Okay, that's pretty good, but that's not where the extra comes from. We're also going to do points. And just like a bank, if you were to do a refinance, they're going to likely have some sort of points in there. So you're going to have 5% interest plus a half a point or something. And a point basically is a percentage point. So if I do a loan for $100,000 and I do 1 point on that loan, I'm going to earn my interest rate, the 15%. Plus, I'm going to earn a point. I'm going to earn $1,000 just for originating that loan. But I tend to do 2 to 3 points. Okay. Now, what I also do is on my first loan to make sure that the borrower is investing in the relationship. Sometimes I go up to 4 to 5 points on that first loan with them to minimize my risk, to show that they're investing in this long-term relationship. That is expensive. Okay. That is expensive. Some people might look at that and go, wow, that's crazy. It is. That's not sustainable for them to do long term. But on the first loan, I'm going to do 4 to 5 points. I'm going to get paid well. It reduces my risk. It also shows, are they willing to invest in this relationship? Because I want to loan to that person over and over and over again. But then we're going to move it down to the 2 to 3 points from there. Okay. Also, last year, guys, I'm going to do 90-day to max 120-day loan terms. And like I said, that's so we can have the money in and out. That reduces my risk. The longer your money is out there in a loan, the more risk there can be to get paid back. So I want to get paid back quickly. But then also that enables me to turn my money 3 to 4 times a year, meaning I can do 3 to 4 loans. With that same $100,000, I can do 3 to 4 loans. I do it 3 to 4 times. And every single one of those times, I get 2 points. I get 2 points. I get 2 points. I get 2 points. So you're getting your 15% on that for the year if you're keeping the money active, and you're getting the points every time you originate a new loan. Okay, so if I were to walk through like an example of what this may look like, and actually let's walk through the process first. Then we're going to break down some numbers. Then we're going to bounce. Okay. So the process here, I'm actually showing on my screen a real deal. Okay, here's a real deal. This one this week that I wired out $230,000 to this borrower. Okay, so right here, $230,000, and this is on a 3-bed, 2-bath. I'm always going to want to make sure that I'm doing that to a on a property that's a bread and butter property, a property that's just easy to get in and get out of. Okay. So 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot. That's a perfect property. He's buying the property at a discount because he's able to serve the seller, and the seller had speed and convenience in mind. $155,000 purchase price with a $75,000 renovation. That equals about $230,000. All in. After it's renovated and made all pretty and nice, new kitchen and new everything, it's going to be about a $290,000 value, leaving profit for him, profit for a real estate agent to be able to list the property, and the ability to pay me back my loan plus my interest. Okay. A good borrower is going to send you comps. You're going to look at those properties, see if they are fair. And that's a process you'll just need to learn. But this whole process today takes me about 15 minutes per loan total. Okay, they're going to send you documents. Never wire over money unless there's signed agreements. There's going to be the loan agreement. There's going to be the mortgage or promissory note. And I always have my borrowers have title insurance all on it as well, protecting me. Okay, then you're going to wire the money over. Make sure always that you call up the place that you're wiring the money to, whether it's a bank, whether it's the title company or their attorney. Call them up because they're going to send you the information, and then repeat it back to them over the phone, because there's fraud that happens these days where people can hack in your email account. They can change the wire information, so you're actually wiring it to scammers and you can never get it back. So whatever whatever wire information comes through, pick up the phone, call that attorney, call that company, confirm it with them, make sure that it's the actual phone number that's on their website, not in the email, because the scammer can change that as well. Wire the money. Okay, then after the deal's done, get paid back, profit, and then you find another one. And for me, I try to keep my funds rolling with the same person over and over again, the same couple people. It makes it easy. We can do deals quickly. I trust them. They trust me. We can make it work. Okay, guys, so let's walk through a couple scenarios. Once again, this is not legal advice. There are laws around ensuring that you have the right registrations, the right filings to be able to do this. So look in your state, look for the type of loans you're doing and how many you're doing to ensure that you're following the guidelines and the laws to make sure that you're doing this legally. Okay. Well, let's say you wanted to make an extra $40,000 a year. Okay. If you want to make an extra $40,000 a year using those terms, you would need to keep 198,000 or so active in loans all year. Okay, so this does take some money, either your money or you could be the broker, the person in between. But once again, you have to have the right registrations, the right things to make sure you're doing it legally. But you need to have $198,000 keeping that churning, or find ways to get higher interest rates or more points. Okay, let's say you wanted to make an extra $100K a year in income. Right, you would need you would need $476,000. So is that a large amount of money? Heck yeah, it's a large amount of money. But the aim here is that when we have the capital, we use the capital to make more capital. So we're spending the interest. We're not spending the principal. And that's where I think the major mindset is for a lot of people. If you came up with a windfall, or you had this capital sitting there and you weren't sure what to do with it, don't spend down your capital on your groceries and on your rent, because that's going to go away. That's going to disappear. What our aim is how do we preserve our principal while we're loaning out and earning and living on the interest? Okay. And then over here, if you want to make $1 million a year, guys, it's the last part. Then we will bring this to a finish. If you want to make $1 million a year, you're going to need a little bit more capital there. But if you sold a company or sold a bunch of real estate that you had invested in really, really well, you're going to need about 7.76 million. Okay, you sold an asset after tax, you've got it sitting there. If you wanted to continue to make $1 million a year and not touch your principal at all, then you would need just under $5 million. Okay, guys. So tax people are probably going to say on this video, oh my gosh, Trevor, you're not talking about taxes. What about a Roth? What about this? This type of income is taxed at the normal ordinary income tax. So you are going to have that tax there that you're going to have to deal with. So talk with your CPA. But this is a way to have your money work for you. It's a way to preserve your principal and live off of the returns. Okay. And guys, I agree. This should not replace the stock portfolio. This should not replace those things that are a taxed advantage strategy. Do those things, but figure out where this may fit in your portfolio to earn multiple six figures if you wanted to. All right, guys. So more than anything, just take away the mindset shift I talked about from this video. You trade time for money, then money for time, and then money for money. And that's where the ultimate leverage can come to help you win that financial freedom, guys. And let the income that you've earned over the years really be able to set you free and give you that freedom. Guys, if you want to learn how, let's say this strategy doesn't work for you. Let's say you don't have any of the money to start from scratch, but you wanted to buy real estate. I have another video where I walk you through how I bought $1.3 million in commercial real estate with no banks and no credit. It's going to walk you through in detail several deals, how I did that, and how you can do that as well with very, very little money. In some cases, none. Check that out if real estate investing is more the route for you. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next video. Subscribe here, subscribe on the podcast, and we'll see you next time.